Okay, thank
Hello,
you.
everyone, and welcome to Mark Potter Presents. Today, we're talking to a man who I think is very, very important, and I think he will be important for decades to come. And also, simultaneously, he is very topical, like as sharp as a knife, as sharp as a was that thing, leather punch or something. This man is Frank Navarro. He's written a book called go ahead and get. I don't want to mess up the title. Hitler, Trump, and Me. Is that it?
It's Trump, Hitler, and Me, a
Okay.
teacher's story.
Trump, Hitler, and Me: A Teacher's Story, and I wholeheartedly recommend you buy it. Are you going to do an audio version, Frank, or not?
I would like to. I'm thinking about it. Um,
Okay. Well, just
I
I
should.
I I don't read as well as I used to, so I do a lot of audiobooks. So anyway, tell us. Give a some people didn't watch the other shows. And tilt your tilt your copy computer up just a little tiny bit. Would you please? Just a little tiny bit. We can't see your chin or your mouth.
Okay, I
Just a
need to
little.
lean
Yeah,
forward
there you go. That'll work.
again.
um, I know we went over some of this before, but tell us a little bit about what transpired, and then maybe we can get into the book itself. I don't think we've ever talked about the book yet, have we? We were just setting the stage so far, right?
Right, right.
So go ahead and tell us.
Well, I was a history teacher for 40 years up to that point, and I had studied. I became a Mandel Fellow with the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum
Okay.
and had studied at Yad Vashem, the International Center for the Study of the Holocaust in Israel.
Right, right.
And I had developed a unit on the Holocaust and had actually created a class called Facing History, which was about the universal lessons of the Holocaust.
Okay.
So when Trump came along in the summer of 2016,
Oh,
the
God help
analogy
us.
seemed really
Yeah,
vivid.
too bizarre.
What really, there are two events that got me thinking about Trump and Hitler, and I started to consider it, but then Trump encouraged violence at one of his rallies where a young man was attacked for protesting. He was
Right.
within the crowd, and Trump applauded that and said, "That's the kind of thing that I like." And it's the you know what would have happened to him in the old days? They would have carried him out, and
Yeah.
and the Nazis were infamous for attacking bystanders at their rallies. The
Okay.
other remark that I was surprised that he would use, but he did. He talked about the American press being the enemy of the people.
Yep.
Hitler used that very same
Yep.
phrase
Yep.
discussing the German press.
Well, I think he's so I wonder to myself, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wonder myself to what extent he or the people that are very, very close to him have studied Hitler, because they mimic Hitler so closely. It's a lot of the quotes are word for word,
They
like
are.
poisoning the blood of the people and all this kind of stuff.
His wife, his first wife, actually said that he would read the collected speeches of Hitler in bed at
I
night
I,
before they went to sleep.
I
Can you
wouldn't doubt it.
imagine having
No. I wonder if he got that on Amazon or not, huh?
so he was definitely influenced. And
Yeah.
and the
Hmm.
other connection, Germany had experienced uh, trauma in the 20s. The losing World War One was
Yeah.
the entire war was a traumatic event for the
I read something. I don't know if it was something you wrote or not, but that World War One really deeply affected the Germans. They felt like the peace was so unfair, and it really just put the mindset in the country in a unusual place.
it was really it's an interesting discussion and concept to think of the end of the war and the Treaty of Versailles, which mandated that Germany had to pay reparations to the French for losing the war. And they thought it was only fair because in 1870 they had lost to the Germans in the Franco-Prussian War. And in that defeat, the Germans demanded reparations from the French and they paid it. And so, with the end of World War One, it was only natural that the French would
Yeah,
demand reparations from the Germans.
because that's only like 40 years apart. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
By the way, when you don't mind if I interrupt sometimes?
no,
Otherwise, I'm just going to go to sleep and let you talk. I'm just kidding. I should do that anyway. Just leave it on for the next 10 weeks. This
okay.
show is 560,000 hours long.
Wow.
What was I going to
Interesting.
ask? Oh, when did Germany got started in the late 1800s, right? It was formed by Kaiser Wilhelm or
Kaiser Wilhelm. Well, what you had was a number of German principalities.
right. But
And
what year are we talking here?
well, they became Germany at the end of the Franco-Prussian War. It created the German Empire, the German state.
So
There are
that war unified the different principalities.
yes, it did.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. I knew something like that, but I didn't know what was the impetus for the formation.
The Italians had some of the same thing going with small Italian city states that would eventually come together to form Italy.
Okay.
Uh, but with the end of World War One, the French thought it only should be fair that the Germans should pay reparations.
Yep, yep.
To meet that problem, the German government, the Weimar Republic, the new democracy,
Democracy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
had decided to print money to meet that payment date, which created widespread inflation in Germany, and
Okay.
that was difficult, real difficult for the middle class. And then in 1929, the Great Depression hit, and it hit Germany early, and I've read in several places that it hit them the hardest. So the losing World War One, the Versailles Treaty that universally everybody hated,
Yeah.
and in retrospect, I think the French wouldn't have uh, created that demand if they could. And then the Great Depression in 1929 hit them, and it opened the door to Hitler campaigning and really and telling the Germans that democracy had done nothing but fail you. And the
How
Weimar,
many years did he how many years did he campaign?
well, and it's interesting because he was jailed in 1923 for the failed beer hall putsch. They had tried to overthrow the Bavarian government, which would then open the door to controlling all of the German state. And that was a complete disaster. He was arrested, his followers were arrested, and he was supposed to spend 8 years, but I think he only spent about 8 months
Huh.
in jail. And for a period there, the Nazis were banned, and they were
So even then they were calling themselves Nazis and
well national. They were calling
using the
themselves
symbol or
national socialists,
okay.
and and but they had that real race bent to them, and Jews
Yeah.
were evil. The for the Nazis, the a percentage of Jews living in Germany at the time was only 2%. And of that 2%, only 1% were noticeably, demonstrably Jewish. The rest had completely integrated into German society. They served,
But that gave them somebody to hate, somebody to point to. So,
and
yeah.
it's a great myth. And of course, that great myth that Jews were evil and they controlled the banking system had been deeply entrenched in European society.
uh,
So in 1929, with I believe it was probably about 1926 when the ban on the Nazi Party was lifted, and the
and
Weimar,
who lifted it? The Weimars?
yes,
In the
and
name of freedom or something, freedom of speech or
yeah, in the name of the, the Nazis in 26 were considered so small, uh,
yeah,
and would not could not be a threat to anybody. So
yeah.
we'll just
Okay.
let them run, and in
Yeah.
fact, for the longest time, they got virtually little to no votes. And in 1929, that shifted when the Depression hit. Now, now Hitler had behind him the inflation, the loss of World War One, and one of the his big lie that he ran on, and it's kind of interesting because Trump had the big lie that the election had been stolen from him, is that Germany had actually won World War One, and
Huh.
and uh, the Weimar Republic stabbed them in the back and surrendered unnecessarily so, and that again the Weimar Republic had failed them. So he and he pounded away at that. He called the generals and the government traitors to the German system, and that if he was to take power, he would make Germany great again. And he,
Really? Okay.
yeah,
Oh
and
Lord.
people, it was the big lie.
Yeah, it sounds big, very big. It's a pretty big one.
And
Ugh.
the it was a complete fabrication. The German army had lost decidedly, and the army was in the middle of revolting without the surrender. The soldiers wanted to surrender. They wanted to get out of the war. They wanted to go
Okay.
home,
Right, right.
and so that's why they surrendered. They ended this war that should
Yeah.
never have gotten in the way that it did.
Okay.
Uh, Europe was entering a a highly industrialized modern war without even thinking about it.
Oh,
There are new weapons that were introduced. The machine gun, planes, mustard gas, and it
right.
was a trauma. So Hitler was able to, with the Depression, support from the Nazis went up,
Okay.
and excuse me, and with that, the door was open. They still did not have a majority of the votes in 1932,
Okay.
and they, excuse me, put together a coalition with the Catholic Center Party, a
Okay.
politician by the name of Klaus von Papen, who
Okay.
argued with the other parties that he could, let's make Hitler chancellor. We know he's not very smart. He's got tempered.
Take
We'll
your
give
time
him,
with the. It's okay to cough. On
yeah.
my show, it's okay to cough.
Oh, is it?
I
Okay.
mean, very okay. We're very real around here. So if you need to pick your nose or brush your hair or pet the
Okay.
dog, just go for it. I cough all the time. I have a constant recurring cough for the last 4 or 5 years. So
Oh, really? Are you okay?
frequently.
Okay.
I'm never okay. Eye health is
But
uh,
they von Papen told the other political parties, look, we'll make him chancellor. There are 12 seats on the cabinet. The Nazis won't have a majority. Will control Hitler. And if he ever wants to do anything, he has to come to the cabinet to change the laws, to introduce him to the parliament. And we can control Hitler for our purposes to get a stable
oh
government.
God.
And
Whoa. Boy.
I'm going to grab a sip.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. We'll see you in a few months. And ladies and gentlemen, I really like Frank very much. He's a wonderful person. He's uh he's a deep researcher. To write a book of that magnitude, I think would be I'm lauding you while you're gone.
Okay. So Hitler was able to become the chancellor,
Right.
and he could have been stopped easily. They
Yeah.
could have said, we'll go with somebody else.
Yeah.
And so he becomes chancellor in end of January 1933.
Okay.
And 6 weeks later, he opened up Dachau, the first concentration camp that was not for Jews necessarily, it was for political opponents, socialist, communists.
Within 6 weeks he was able to do that.
Yeah, uh, it wasn't long after that the Reichstag caught fire. Their
Okay.
main
Their
government,
Congress, right?
yeah, and
Okay.
the Nazis came out with the feeble-minded Dutch communists and said, "Look at this! The communists are attacking our government. We must take extraordinary measures to control and save the state. We'll open up this camp. We'll put traitors to the state in it, socialist, communist, trade unionists."
Right.
And gays started to go in early.
Oh, yeah.
And Hitler then in early March pardoned a group of people who had gone with him to try to overthrow the Weimar Republic in November of 1923. So
Okay.
Hitler would pardon those lawbreakers who were trying to assist him as Trump.
Exactly the way Trump is doing. Exactly.
And,
Pardoning those people. Yeah.
I,
Okay. I just want to make sure I make the parallels.
and you're right. So um, with that, he's off and running, and
Yeah.
parallels with Trump and Hitler, I think, are stark and real. And I had
Yeah.
the teachers on the staff, history teachers, tell me that they actually saw it too, but it was just too touchy, so they weren't going to touch it. They weren't going to raise it with their classes.
Where you taught, which was in Los Altos, California, right?
Yeah, it was in Mountain View High School, which
Mountain View High School, which is part of Los Altos School District.
it's actually called the Mountain View Los Altos High School District.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we are going to need to do another show today. At least I would like to, or even two more would be very nice for me. Would that be okay with you or not?
Sure, that would be fine. I
All right, we have a little time left on this one. I want to maximize each one, but Frank, let me say something here. I don't know how I know you're kind of selfie facing and somewhat introverted, but uh what you're doing is so extremely important. I don't think my show is going to get you out there as far as I want you to get, but I wish you could just stand on top of the world and tell these stories because this guy here in the US is, in my perception, just mimicking Hitler step by step by step. I mean, we can see the parallels are so extremely close, intricately close. So I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart as one human being to another for having gone through this circuitous journey in which you've written this book for us, trying to teach us what's going on. I do you and by the way, before I close out this show and start the next one, do you have in mind to do a follow-up book? Are you already working on one?
I am. I
I hope
actually
so.
am
I hope
working.
so.
One is a history of Mountain View High School. At one
Okay.
point, Mountain View High became the experimental high school in the country. In the
Okay.
in the early 70s, it devised
Okay.
a program called Daily Demand Modular Scheduling, where they
Okay.
let these public high school kids come to school and make up their own schedule on a daily basis.
All
If they
right.
needed to take PE and English and then go home or actually go to the beach, that was fine.
do
It
you I want to ask you a question that we have never gotten even close to. Do you think that your book, Trump, Hitler, and Me, would ever be a TV or a movie? Has anybody optioned the rights yet?
not yet,
You've
but
heard of it though. It's been
yeah,
talked about. Okay,
I
because all right, all right. Let's, folks. We're gonna close out this show. We're gonna do another one. This is show what, 3 maybe with you, or 4, somewhere in that neighborhood.
okay. I'm game. I'm open to that.
Good. So I'm gonna close this show out. Then we have to sign out and sign back in to get Zoom to definitively
Okay.
delineate. So, folks, thank you. We love you. We'll see you in a few minutes. Frank, I'm just
I'll
gonna
be here.
log out for like 5 minutes and log
I'm
back
gonna
in.
get the dog out of
There
the.
you go. Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
you could hear her barking.
Yes, I love dogs though. You can have her on your lap if you want. I really
Okay.
like,
Uh, uh,
or your grandkids.